Well, hello. How are you doing today?
Today
It is getting beltier.
Merman.
Yes. Well, I mean, is that kind of coming from your show that you did yesterday?
Thank you for bringing this. I sang last night. I was a featured soloist. It was called Backstage at the Geffen Playhouse here in Los Angeles. Lily Tomlin was presenting an award to Rita Moreno for excellence in the arts. And I got to sing for basically all of Hollywood. It was a very incredible night, red carpet. I sang some really golden age musical theater. And Rita Moreno, let me tell you, this 90-year-old beautiful woman gets up on stage. And everybody's, she gets like a 6-7 minute standing ovation. And then she starts talking about herself. And she said, my good girlfriend recently asked me if I think about or want to have sex. And everybody got kind of quiet
and how old is this woman?
She's 90 years old. And she's like, no, I'm 90. I don't know. So everybody laughed. And then she said, so then she said, I recently wrapped a film and we did a 30-day shoot. And in one of the scenes, I had to walk into a men's locker room and everybody was half naked from the waist up. And then she gets really quiet and she says, ladies and gentlemen, those fucking pheromones. So I called my girlfriend back and said, I bought a vibrator. Rita, like what?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Everybody went berserk.
The older people are a little bit friskier, I think, than most people realize.
Well, we were talking about that. Didn't you tell me that the highest STD or STI rate is what?
Basically, retirement homes have the highest per capita amount of STDs and STIs because those people don't care anymore and they still have the urges.
I kind of love that in a weird way. I think that's great. Like those old people in those nursing homes are getting it on. I hope that's me.
Yeah, I hope that my nursing home
homosexual retirement homes.
I'm sure they do. I just think, let's both just hope that that's where we end up. We should, leave that in I don't even know how I'd tell my children, I want you to make sure to put me in a home that has a high STD rate.
Oh my God. The actor Camille, he was in The Big Sick.
Yeah.
He was so nice. He was in the green room and so kind to us backstage. It was really cool. Randomly, the stage manager, Jill Gold, who had stage managed me in Beauty and the Beast at La Mirada, Kathy Rigby's theater, was there. She was the stage manager for the evening.
Wow.
We got to play with some amazing musicians. The cast was incredible. It was just such a really, and that theater is gorgeous. Yeah,
definitely. I only saw some pics. You have to send me a video.
Oh, yeah.
You refuse to send me your rehearsal video.
I'll send you the rehearsal video, but backstage at the Geffen, they don't allow any filming or any press inside the actual event. Like 2 years ago, Lady Gaga came and performed. I mean, you never know who's going to show up there, but it was literally Hollywood royalty. I'll stop talking about it. It was an incredible night. Please tell
us more.
I've had no sleep, so I'm still buzzing.
You're running off of adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. And people were there is this very strong theater community in LA, which I wouldn't even know, but it's a very small, intimate theater community, but everybody's famous.
Yeah. Just that kind of situation.
But it felt very Charleston to me. Honestly, it felt very small and everybody knows everybody and everybody's supportive of it. Anyway, I can't say enough about it.
Well, speaking of Charleston,
yes.
I also went to an event yesterday that was kind of mind-blowing. My parents are big supporters of the Democratic Party and they are up in the mountains at this moment. So basically, I don't know when they'll ever come back, but I am now kind of their proxy. So I got the wonderful opportunity to go meet Adam Schiff. He is a congressman from California and basically kind of rub elbows with some very powerful but passionate people. And it was extremely inspirational, and it just got me back into we were talking a lot about the fact of our country, the state of our country, where we're going, a lot of the things that we talk about on here, and what we can, how do we make real change, and how does that happen, and how do we, one of the questions I ask is they kind of let us, raise our hands and ask different things. And one of mine was that, how do we kind of combat this in your face, basically fake news? I hate saying that because I think the whole term has been bastardized, but how do you combat all this information that's coming at you from every direction that may or may not be accurate? And his answer was very poignant in that, that the only way to do that is to just kind of take a page out of that book and just be as loud as you can about the truth. And you made me feel very patriotic, but also like very proud of our podcast, because I feel like that's what we're trying to do.
Well, Adam Schiff himself, we were talking about this via text when you were at the event, but he led the impeachment of Trump. I mean, he led that to happen. And so he is, I forgot what the committee is called that he was on. Was a security committee or national?
He's in the intelligence committee. So he knows, I mean, he had just come back from literally speaking to the president of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like a week before. And so he was like giving us updates on the situation in Ukraine, the different stuff, like basically the intelligence on Russia and what, the mistakes Putin's been making. I mean, this is a whole nother podcast that we could have about it, but it was one of those things where it was like kind of an out of body experience. After I left, I was like, I cannot believe I just like hung out with people that are changing in a very real way the state of the country in a way I think is positive. And friend of the show, Joe Cunningham, was also there. So that was nice.
I saw him in the picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
So it was in a way, it's like being surrounded by superstars, but it was intimate and it was wonderful and it was inspiring. So I think we both had a pretty good Saturday.
Great Saturday. Yeah. Well, today we have a celebrity on the program.
Oh, and another one.
But you pointed out in the interview that this is the first person that we've had on that we both actually know.
Yeah, both have connection to it.
It's crazy.
To her. So I mean, I can't believe this is the first.
So Molly O'Connell is we've known her for years in Charleston. Should I go ahead and read her bio?
Yeah, go ahead and tell everybody about her.
Okay, so Molly O'Connell is an American fashion model. She was a contestant on Cycle 16 of America's Next Top Model in 2011, where she was the runner-up. During her time in the cycle, Molly was known for producing beautiful pictures that stunned and captivated the judges, but she was often castigated for her pessimistic, tough, and often hilarious attitude. She was featured in magazines Huff, Shoeholics, Fusion, Vogue, Knitting, Fantastics Mags, Bronze, Stella, Nova, Arsenic, and American Salon. She made a guest appearance on Bravo's hit TV series Below Deck. She walked the runway for the designer Sergio on the Project Runway season 18 finale. She was a recent guest for the Cycle 16 episode of America's Next Top Model judge Jay Manuel's Jay's Chat. Molly currently lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and is extremely passionate about mental health and has joined the quest to help eradicate toxic behavior from the modeling industry. Please welcome to the program, Molly O'Connell.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Molly.
Hey, how are you?
We're so happy to have you on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're super pumped because I don't know, for the listeners out there, I think this is our first guest that Todd and I both know or knew before this.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that before. I don't think that we've had anybody on. It's always been somebody from one of our lives or just somebody we've reached out to randomly. But you are somebody that we grew up with and we've known for a while. So this is exciting.
Long time. I know, right?
Charleston represent.
Changed so much.
Exactly.
Yes, Charleston forever.
Well, Molly, a lot of people, maybe our listeners, know you from certain projects you've done, but for those who are just being introduced to you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you go into the exciting world of modeling and fashion?
Oh, gosh. Well, so yes, I am Molly. I'm in my 30s. I started modeling in high school. Funnily enough, I wanted to start modeling when I was about 11 or 12, when I looked absolutely ridiculous. I had like a weird little mushroom bowl cut. I had gap teeth. I was very short. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a model. So I'm really not even sure how that got into my head of you're going to be that one day, because I looked absolutely nothing like your typical model. But I just thought Kate Moss and all those women, they're just so pretty. I want to be like them. And I think I just kind of have that in my brain that like pretty people are, I don't know, it's just kind of beaten into women's brains that like you want to be pretty, you want to be attractive. So I think that's kind of why I wanted to start modeling, just to be pretty
and how tall are
get
you,
that
Molly?
validation. Now I'm 5'11", shrinking slowly from scoliosis.
Blame gravity in general,
Did you have a growth spurt in middle school, high school?
Yes. So they were like, come back when you grow about 6 inches, get braces. Like
your hair needs to come down maybe 6 inches.
They nicely told me to grow my hair out and not look so crazy looking. And actually, I grew about 6 inches in the next year and a half. I grew my hair out. I got braces, and then I somehow looked kind of modelly. So that was just luck. I didn't.
Yeah. So did you end up, when you like kind of went in, did you go to like agencies and kind of do the circuit, or how did you?
I did like Millie Lewis in Charleston, where you kind of pay to go. So I did that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she's gonna be great." And of course, I get sent to some model thing, and I not look like a model, but they were like, "We're gonna take her parents' money and just tell her she's great."
Oh my gosh!
So it was a mess. But somehow I ended up growing, and I ended up really just kind of finding people in Charleston and the Charleston Fashion Week and doing that. Millie Lewis did really.
That was just dipping your toes in the water.
Confidence. They gave me the confidence.
Right. Even though you already had it when you were 12, and they just, reinstated it. Yeah. So you did mention your parents, and both Todd and I know that you were adopted.
Yeah.
So how has being adopted kind of affected you throughout your life, even in just modeling, but everything else? And have you ever met your birth parent?
Yes, I have. Well, I've met my birth mother and some half siblings and stuff. As far as how it affected me, I knew from age 3 or 4, as soon as I could understand what it really meant to be adopted, understand. My parents told me, trying to be like, look, you're loved by us. But as a 3 or 4-year-old, you can't really comprehend that. So I grew up sort of pushing boundaries, but also being like afraid, if I do this, will I get put up for adoption again? Kind of weird, just a weird subconscious idea that I may be abandoned again. So there's a lot of things that stem from that, kind of weird forms of seeking for validation, or just that goes into romantic relationships, having abandonment issues and stuff. Everyone's different. My brother, he's also adopted. He seems to be a lot more well-adjusted than I am as far as the whole adoption thing. But yeah, it was definitely a lot. It still is sometimes a lot. It's just consciously you can say, hey, I have a great life. This was better for me. Subconsciously, you're still like, oh no, I'm a little kid.
Yeah. So I kind of have a question, kind of a follow-up to that. If you could you obviously couldn't control what was going on when you were 3 or 4 years old and being told this, but do you wish that you had maybe been told later?
Good question.
I've wondered that a lot. I just don't know. I don't know if there's really any right time.
Yeah.
Because then if you wait too long, then you feel like you've been lied to.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, you kept this from me. So I think my parents didn't want to have a secret from me. That was their MO, which I get. I'm sure there's a psychologist or something who can be like, this is the right time to do that. I have no idea. I think maybe a little later, but
either way, probably would have had like this. Yeah, you kind of feel like you'd have the same reaction.
And I would say all of us knowing your parents, they're pretty direct people. I feel like they're exactly. So they're going to they're going to lay it out for you.
They're not going to keep that a secret for very long. Anyway, so did they tell Ian, your brother?
I think so. And he seemed to be completely fine with it our whole childhood. I was the one who was like,
I don't know. Maybe he's got some deep-seated issues he hasn't shared with us.
He needs to go to some therapy.
He's going to kill all of us.
Yeah, some people I know. Sorry, we love you, Ian.
Hi, Ian. At least we'll get him to listen to this. We talk about it.
Exactly. Molly, our show is based in healing and overcoming trauma. And I know you are a big advocate for mental health, and I know it's very important to you. As a model, do you feel that the modeling industry is toxic as a whole? And if you do, how is it toxic? And do you think it's changing?
Yes. I do believe it's toxic. It is changing as far as inclusion of like different body types, less all blonde, blue-eyed, white girls, that's dominated the fashion industry for so long, the Abercrombie crap, all that. So it is really changing a lot in that sense, which I love. Unfortunately, for the majority of my career, it's been pretty toxic and brutal towards young girls. Even in my 30s, I'm still affected by it and it gets to me. But I can't imagine being 16, 17, 18 right now with the way social media and everything has blown up so much. It's pretty toxic. I was told at 16 that I was approaching plus size because my hips were 36 and a half inches around, and they were like, 36 is approaching plus size. You got to lose weight. And I was like, this is the size of my skeleton. I don't really know how.
Like, Molly, honestly, I was watching the first episode of America's Next Top Model from your cycle, and the plus size model in there, I was like, that is a normal, like, that's a skinny person.
Like the size that I am right now.
Oh, I mean, she's like, it was like, I could not wrap my mind around it because it was like, now, you see the Dove commercials and they've got the actual plus size full figure, but they keep talking about her and she keeps talking about herself throughout the whole thing. Is like, well, as a bigger woman, and I'm just like,
she's been labeled as that, and she's not.
What are some examples of that toxic kind of environment?
Going to agencies and being told your hips are an inch too big, or like, I've literally been told I need to lose an inch off each thigh by an agency, by, certain jobs. I'll be like, oh, we have too many girls that look like you, or, you're not different enough. Maybe go cut your hair, go do this, or lose weight. So it's just really there's a lot of rejection. Like, obviously they're the big models and they get booked by everyone, but there's a lot of rejection. You go to castings and you're told, no, you're not the right look. You're not this, you're not that. So even though you do get these jobs and you're validated, you're also told, no, you're not. You don't look like what we want. And so
can you speak to that about castings? Can you speak to what it's like to go to a casting and what the process is like?
Well, it's a lot different now with COVID and stuff. But yeah, depending on where you are, pretty much just will go to a place, a designer's, whatever, and you'll be in a hallway in a room with 30, 40, however many girls. Sometimes they'll spread it out. And then you just kind of will sit there and look at everyone else and pair yourself. And a lot of times you'll walk in front of each other or do whatever.
Is it a supportive environment with the other girls, or is it competitive?
I feel like it's more competitive because you're literally sitting there with your competition of, oh, they might book this. I want to book this more. So then you kind of like are side-eyeing everyone like, oh, no, I get it over her. So they just pit you all against each other. Some people can understand that and be nice and be friendly. It's not all horrible, but just being in the castings, it's really stressful.
We're going to get into talking about America's Next Top Model, but I just feel like they do kind of brush the surface of that as far as, like, I think especially y'all's cycle of being like, oh, well, they need to get used to being rejected. So we're going to reject them in the first episode, just stuff like that. So at least, I guess, there's some sort of awareness that that's going on. But do you think they're making any changes from that, even though they're aware of it?
I'm not sure if it's like more face value kind of changes just to look like, oh, look at us, we're changing so people don't hate us as much, or if they really are trying to change how it is and how they make people feel. Yeah, I don't know if it's like their hand has been forced to do it just by everyone being like, this is screwed up, or if they truly want to change. I'd like to think that there's a real change happening. I mean, I see it, even if it is kind of forced on their part, at least something's happening. But yeah, I don't know. It's always going to be a bit of a toxic industry, I think. I'm not really sure how they can
in a toxic industry like that, Molly, sorry to interrupt you, but do you feel like you have to be your own advocate?
Yes. That's a huge thing, is you have to stand up for yourself. You have to, people think, oh, I have an agent. They're the one who's going to speak on my behalf, do all these things. They're going to find me all the jobs. And to an extent, that is correct. But you have to speak to them. You have to go into the office and say, hi, I'm here. Remind them that you're there. If you're in a bigger agency, you get lost in the shuffle. So you do have to advocate for yourself. And a lot of these agencies are so big. They have so many girls. They don't get that intimate caring relationship with their models. And I mean, in the agencies, a lot of them are toxic. I've had some creepy stuff happen that my modeling agency knew about and still sent me on a test shoot with someone who had been inappropriate. And so it's like, you think your agent has your back, and sometimes they really don't. So you have to watch out for yourself.
Hold on. So you went to a casting with a man who was inappropriate, a test shoot with a man who was inappropriate with you, and the agency knew that they were sending you into the lion's den.
Yes, he grabbed my breast in the middle of just standing around after the shoot.
Are you fucking kidding?
No, yeah, he reached in my shirt and grabbed my boob. No, nothing, like, I don't know. And I just froze, didn't really know what to do. I waited for him to leave the room, and I just grabbed my stuff and I left. And I messaged my agency, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we've heard he's been creepy towards some other girls. We'll let people know." And I was like, "So someone's told you that before, and you still sent me?"
And you're going to let people know, like, you already clearly know. So why wouldn't you let everybody know by now?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted the commission.
Yeah, they don't.
I'm gonna throw up.
They just don't care about you. It's gross.
Yeah, we're both trying not to throw up. At this point,
it's really hard to find someone who truly cares about you. We're all pieces of meat, Yeah. And it can be very
well. That's incredibly. I don't know. It's sad, and I hope whoever's listening to this, stop it. Because I mean, as a culture, we've kind of advanced with the Me Too movement and everything like that. But as people, we all know there's going to be little crevices where that shit keeps happening. Yeah. And so I think that every modeling agency, I don't even care how much money you want to make, whatever, you're still going to make the money, but you should be calling out people like that. Like, that's absolutely, you already feel crazy enough as it is going into a casting. Like, then
to have something like that happen.
That's absolutely insane. Well, I guess I'm extremely sorry that happened to you. That is disgusting. But in general, I guess, how do you kind of feel like modeling affects your body image? Everybody, we've touched on a little bit, but how do you feel like it affects everybody's kind of body image in the industry? And do you think that those same beauty standards are equally as hard on both men and women in the business?
I think harder on women for sure. Men are kind of allowed to age. They're kind of, and it's almost like sexier when a man ages. For women, it's like, oh, you're over like 20. Oh my gosh. And I'm 34, so it's like I have to lie to even get my foot in the door of an agency to meet with them at this point. So as far as age and body image, it's really bad. I feel like maybe I've always had some self-esteem issues, so probably a terrible idea to go into the modeling industry, but it did not help for sure. I now just compare myself constantly to other people, which I know everyone does, but I'll be on a shoot and I'll just be like, "Oh wow, her ankles are so much skinnier than mine." And I'll just sit there and stare at it. I'll be like, "Wow, her waist is so much smaller than mine." Or like, I'll just sit there and kind of touch parts of my body. And it's like, this is completely insane. You look normal. You're not fat. But in my head, I beat myself down constantly. And I know it's like that for a lot of girls, just not eating, thinking they need to be thinner to fit into the sample size. And yeah, it's just unhealthy. I have so many friends who had eating disorders in New York and LA.
Do you think that's rampant in the industry?
Yeah.
Like body dysmorphia, eating disorders?
Fully. Oh yeah, everywhere.
Do you suffer with that, or is it? Do you just, because you said my friends, but do you have?
Well, so I don't. I have more of like, I have disordered eating and guilt. I'll binge eat and then I'll feel really bad about it. So it's not quite like anorexia, bulimia. Still an issue. Disordered eating is still an issue. But I've had friends who, a little more extreme issues is more what I meant. I've completely had issues with it as well. I have body dysmorphia. I constantly just look at myself all day and will be like, "Oh, you're gross, you're fat." And people around me will be like, "Molly, you're not." And then now you're making us feel bad because we look like you, or we are bigger than you. And now you're calling yourself fat. And it's like, I just can't get out of that cycle.
This is crazy, mentally. Molly, because knowing you you love the craft of modeling. You love your job. And so to have to go through that kind of constant torture just to do the thing that you love, that's got to be a mind fuck.
Yeah. And even with, musically, like you've known me forever, choir and stuff like that, I double majored in music in college. And it pours into that as well. I'm terrified of failure. I'm terrified that people will notice the imperfections of things. And so, I mean, I quit music for 13 years because I was so afraid. I would pick apart every single thing I did and be like, this isn't good enough. So yeah, I mean, it's spilled into many parts of my life, not just, physical.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of going back to talking about America's Next Top Model.
Yeah.
I think most people got to know you from the Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model. So I guess that this kind of leads into, this is obviously something you're really passionate about. You went into this whole process, even while having all of that going on in your brain. So what was that experience like? I mean, that's almost seems like what you're saying, but on steroids. So if you just give us a little insight of like what it was like, the situation with the weave and things like that, like how was it and how did it affect you?
So funnily enough, I was actually too afraid to audition for a top model because I thought I wouldn't make it.
Really?
I literally did not have the confidence to try out, but they contacted me after seeing some photos of me online and said, "Hi, would you like to come to a private audition in Nashville?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Wow, I actually have something." Because I was like, I'm not going to audition for this and then them say no, and then I'm going to cry forever and feel like crap. I already knew I couldn't take it. But then they contacted me and I was like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I have a shot at this. So my dad drove me and I tried out, and that gave me a boost of confidence for sure. There are some things that do make you feel nice. And I watched the show every week with my mom for years. I was obsessed with it. So to get that chance, I was so excited. And then going on the show, it did give me a boost of confidence, being like, wow, you're good enough to be on this show. Then slowly I kind of realized that they were just kind of found people who are good for TV and somewhat good models, so then they can just provoke you constantly. But
can you expand on that? Like, what exactly do you mean by that?
So you can find tons of girls who can take a great picture, but who are not dramatic or who aren't going to talk crap in an interview or, this or that. Like me, they find people who have less of a filter and who are more open and maybe complain or this or that, whatever.
You said less of a filter. The Zoom went. You said less of a filter.
Less of a filter, yeah. So I really have no filter. I talk about whatever and word vomit. So
which is why we love you and why we have you on here, because that's you're with your people.
Give the people what they want.
Y'all get me. Give them what they want. Oh, absurdity. But yeah, so I think they pick people who they know will be good for TV. They'll put people in. I mean, they're very strategic about the way that they cast it.
And you mentioned like they provoke you. Like what in what ways?
That weave, that damn weave was
the weave alone. The weave alone. They knew that was complete
Can you explain
garbage.
For people who didn't know that episode what they did to you?
Okay, so the makeover episode obviously happens every cycle of Top Model. They do a makeover, and usually one girl, they do something crazy. They chop all her hair off. They do something, and she cries, and there's always the one dramatic moment. And of course, I was the dramatic moment. They took us to the salon, but had a woman. They found this woman. I don't know where they found her, like randomly off. I don't know. She was not from the salon. They had her and her 12-year-old granddaughter installing my weave and doing like braiding my hair and then sewing the whatever into my head. I don't know. And it looked so bad. The owner of the salon was like, "What is this? Oh, this is terrible." Oh, like a French guy, he was embarrassed. And so I looked absolutely insane, like ramen noodle head, terrible.
Oh my gosh.
People magazine top 10 worst makeups of Top Model history. And then they just filmed me bitching about it.
Wasn't it like coming out at point?
And it was it hurt your scalp and stuff?
They left like an inch of my hair out to try and blend it. And then I had an allergic reaction. I had sores. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that.
No, we will post the picture on our
synthetic hair. It wasn't real hair. I had an allergic reaction and I had to be on antibiotics.
Are you serious?
I had sores on the back of my neck. I had to go to the doctor. They took me to the doctor.
Did they not like, was that not like immediately they're like, let's get this off of her head?
I had to threaten. I got a pair of scissors. I went into the confessional. They didn't show this. I went into the confessional room and I was like, I see what y'all are doing.
Oh
If you don't come down here in 5 minutes, I'm cutting this shit off. If you don't come down,
they're watching.
They watch.
They watch the confessionals, because I have like a million questions about this whole entire thing. Like I was like watching, I was like, when do you do the confessionals? When does that happen? But like you straight up are they're watching your confessionals.
Oh yeah. So they had cameras in the corner of the room were most censored at night. So if you got up to do something, then people would come in with the camera to follow you. So they were always watching.
The gag is the picture you took after that weave looks amazing.
They photoshopped. I feel like there's no way it looked that good.
I mean, this picture,
had a lot of fans.
Thank you.
This picture is like amazing.
You know, they put 2 socks in each side of my bra there, and I still.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so, there's like a boob.
So with the weave thing though, they ended up they finally they fixed it.
They took it out and then they put it back in using Tyra's special weave specialist. The same exact hair. They took it out and put the same hair back in.
One you're allergic to, that you're on antibiotics for. I can't with this.
And
then, so you're literally suffering like health wise. And and have you like signed away any rights to like say anything about it?
Oh my God. 7-page contract book. So did everyone in my family.
But all of your NDAs have sort of run out at this point. So that's why all the models are talking now. That's why everybody's allowed to talk.
Now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got. Yeah. Well, it's incredible to be able to get kind of an inside view of this, because when you're watching it, it does seem like they are always critiquing, always telling you like, you know, you're basically, we like you in person, but this picture sucks. Like there's one girl on there that they just like, we just can't seem to get, like, you look old in your pictures.
Nicole,
and it was like, what is she supposed to do? And also she didn't look old in her pictures. And so it's like, do you feel like their assessments are accurate, or they're more for entertainment value?
I think it's more, they realized she was not very reactive.
Yeah.
And so they're like, all right, let's pick some not so great photos. She had worked more than all of us, except for Kasha, the plus size model. They had worked the most. They had both been in multiple magazines. Kasha was in 17 magazines, a bunch, and Teen, Vogue, a bunch of stuff. And so Nicole had modeled a ton. And then they just found these like crappy photos. It's like, I know for a fact there's a better photo. I know there's no way there wasn't. So I think they use that along with, you know, are they going to be good enough TV? You know, are people going to really want to tune in for something dramatic next week? Okay, let's kick her off. Let's give her this photo.
So yeah, like that's always my question. Like, this is the best photo. And I'm like, come on. Like y'all have cameras everywhere and you've got
proof. I want to see.
I want to see the rest of the photos. Show me the photos, because you can kind of sense with it that there is that entertainment factor. Rigging, if you will.
You don't want to, but like, you can, and especially looking back on it, it's like, really? I thought this was all real?
Yeah, I mean, like it's the scene where y'all have to walk across a pool on a clear glass thing. Todd was telling me about your experience with that, but I watched it yesterday, and you're in a giant ball, like a hamster ball.
Hamster ball, yes.
Which is like, okay, let's just throw every possible scenario here that really wouldn't ever happen in the world, ever. Because it's like, you might end up walking across a glass pool at some point in your modeling career, but you would not be in a hamster ball.
No.
So like, how did they justify that when they're like asking y'all to do these things?
Oh, they didn't justify it. They're just like, oh, here's this, you're doing this. And we were like, oh, okay, wow. But you watch the show and you're like, you're used to them doing some kind of crazy challenge or photo shoot each season. But there's just the pendulum. There's one where they swing pendulums and they like knock girls off the runway. I am fairly certain they timed those to like hit them specifically. So what they did for us is they had one of the assistants walk the runway in a bubble to see how hard it was. And when it wasn't difficult enough, they sprayed Crisco or some oil on the runway to make it more slippery. And so we walked one full runway through, and they were like, y'all didn't walk fast enough. We're going to do that again, trying to make us, because no one fell. So we did it again faster, and then 2 girls fell, and that's what they used to air.
And does everybody else that's sitting there, because it's in front of like a bunch, like an audience that they have, are they all in on that? Like, do they see them go?
Well, they obviously, no, I think that's like before anyone gets there when they're prepping. Yeah, I don't, not that I know of.
I'm just trying to figure how far this all goes. You know, the
think
conspiracy.
It's literally like production assistant kind of doing it beforehand when they're literally setting up the scene and everything. And then the people come in and sit, and they're just kind of, you know, some of them were like famous people, obviously, and then some were just random people that they allow to come watch. But I don't think they were there during the rigging of the.
I'm sorry, I keep just one more, and I'll let Todd talk for a second. I'm just like so blown away by this. So a lot of the shots when y'all are like reading Tyra mail or whatever, like there's some girls that are like draped all over each other, like we're best friends. Like, is that real? Like, what part of it?
Yeah, they didn't make, well, in my cycle at least.
What cycle were you, Molly?
16.
16.
They didn't have us do anything fake like that, and you know, anything that was kind of in the house, we all got very excited. I mean, you're so overstimulated and overwhelmed and excited for anything that happens. You're not allowed to talk to people at home, really. We only got like 3 minutes to talk to our parents each week. We had to split a small block of time in between the amount of girls. And when it starts out with 14 girls, they only give us like an hour to talk to our family members or something. And so then like you have to spend 30 seconds of that, a minute of that, trying to call them, waiting. If they don't answer, you have to call someone else. So we barely got to speak to anyone. So we're all just have no one except for these girls. So, you know, we did get sort of close. And even Alexandria, girl we had all the issues with on the show, we had great times as well. They just didn't show that. So that part I think is real. It's more like they'll have you refilm the runway that we did. We filmed the finale runway twice after Brittany fell, because they were trying to make her, like, I think, get video of her limping or something. So it's more that, like, the refilming of things. They had us, they would, if they didn't have the camera on us as we saw the Tyra mail, they'd be like, oh, okay, pretend you saw the Tyra mail again. And then they'd put the camera on, you'd be like, oh, Tyra mail. But I was really bad at it, so they never had me do it because I was so
You did one. You did one. Like, you did the second episode. You actually were the Tyra mail person.
Because I think I actually saw that while the camera was on.
Okay.
It was a real reaction. But if they weren't looking at you and someone sees it, then they refilm that because they want to get a reaction. So it's little things like that. They change the order of interviews. So if you bitch about someone one week and then you make up with them the next week, they'll post you talking crap about them a week after that.
I've always wondered that. Oh my God.
You see us all wear the same tank top. I wear like a maroon tank top and everything to try and make it look like the same week. But then I have that weave in, so you can't cover that. You know, you can kind of tell when things are done. But they make you wear the same shirt so they can.
Okay. So I was wondering if maybe they ask you to like talk about it, like, you know, at one point 6 weeks later, or if they ask you right in the moment, but it's like after a while you started to notice, no, they're wearing the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not the same like mood. So that makes sense. They kind of just take it all and chop it up and put it in whatever order that works for.
And they'll have like every 2 or 3 days, they will do a really long interview where you wear that shirt, same shirt. But they found very quickly that I am a hangry, angry brat. And so they were like, ooh, let's make Molly go last. Let's make it right after, you know, she's like said she's hungry. And then let's put her in her room and be like, we'll feed you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right after this interview, Molly. Basically dangling food in front of my face saying, if you finish this interview, we'll feed you. So then they poke and prod me with these like provoking questions, you know.
And you're already hangry.
And I'm hangry. And then I have to answer. They'll be like, Molly, how mad were you when this happened? And I can't say so mad. I have to say, I was so mad when this happened, because like in a full sentence, so it doesn't sound like I'm answering. Yeah. So then I just look like I'm completely ranting about all these things while hangry. And it's just like,
editing.
So they just,
I know, editing. I mean, it's like,
they've got it down to an art.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very aware as far as like Southern Charm and all that stuff goes. Like, they've done some filming at the beer garden, and it's like it takes away the magic once you see it because you're just like, oh, okay. So they just keep filming him coming up and like high-fiving our bartender like over and over and over. And you're like,
that is a little more staged than Top Model, I will say, because I've seen some of that a little, but still, I mean, it's more in the post-production that they like to stage things.
Well, Molly, you worked with Bravo too. You did an episode of Below Decks. Was that sort of staged as well? More so, or do you think it was more?
A little more so, but it's kind of just like, I think the Southern Charm, they'll kind of be like, okay, well, why don't y'all go and sit down and talk about this specifically? Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, okay, well, hey, what's happening with your this and that? Where Below Deck, I think they follow you around, and I think it's because I was a guest on it. I guess maybe I wasn't, I didn't see as much of the inner workings of it, but it wasn't too staged. I think it was just
so there are some hammered
there are some,
oh yeah, there you go. That's the tactic. Yeah, that's the tactic. Get everyone. That's more drunk. That's the real world, I think.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't drink on Top Model.
Getting back to Top Model, do you think that Tyra? Well, I know you're still in contact with Nigel. Yeah. You guys still have a great relationship, and I actually ran into
that's awesome.
Miss J, Mrs. J, Miss J, yes. Mr. J, Miss J, Miss J. I ran into him, her, they. I don't know what he's going by. They.
I'm thinking they.
Going by now, but at a party, and asked him about you. This was like maybe a few years after it had happened in New York, and he was like, "I love Molly. I love Molly." He went goo goo gaga over you. But let's go to the host. Do you think that she actually cares about her girls? Or do you think that she's a more of a businesswoman at the end of the day, and she cares when it's necessary? I mean, did you feel that she was, while you were filming, did you feel she was a genuine, okay, all right?
Yeah, I can 2 words into that question, I was like, I know the answer. It's completely, she cares when it's better for her.
Okay.
I didn't speak to her after filming until Mr. J started doing the interviews that were spilling tea about the show. And that's when she commented on one of my photos. It's literally a decade later. Wow, so glad to see. She commented on a photo of mine. So glad to see you're still modeling, heart, or something. She literally has not contacted me.
Mr. J.
Mr. J. So there's Miss J is the runway. Right. And then Mr. J with like the silver hair.
Miss J is the
one you spoke.
Yeah. Yes. And then Mr.
J runs the photo shoots. He's kind of the creative director.
Right. Stuff. So he came out and started like talking about
He wrote a
book.
I didn't know this.
But no one's name. It's all
fictional. Yeah, he said it's like it's a novel kind of a la Devil Wears Prada.
And then Lyra was like,
basically, and he talks about a girl going on shooting on a camel, and I'm like, he talks about me, but my name's just me. So I think she saw that. I might be getting some bad publicity about this. Maybe I should go in and say hi to some of the girls. I really think it was truly for that reason. She's never spoken to me otherwise. She speaks to some of the bigger models who have gotten really famous after the show, like Winnie Harlow. Yes, the Meltdown. Yes,
it's called the
Meltdown. It keeps going in and out because of your blur, but Todd's holding up a picture. Okay. Yeah.
It's called the Meltdown. It literally
Meltdown. I'm gonna look
a
that
novel by J. Manuel. The devil also wears cheap shoes.
Yep.
Yeah. So then she done like damage control.
Okay, y'all, I gotta say this. So. The title, it says The Wig, the Bitch, and the Meltdown.
I mean,
oh my God.
Come on.
Sounds like he's have you read the book, Molly? Because this is
and he just it's great. It's great. There's so much stuff in there. You're like, oh wow, okay.
So nice to Miss Tyra or whatever he called the devil.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who.
So you think that she came back to like your photos?
Yeah, I don't know why else.
No, look, I am a good person. I'm not anything like that.
I think it's more like please stop saying shit about me.
Don't talk crap about me.
Don't say the truth.
Yeah.
If you know anything about me, Tyra, you know I'm going to say whatever I want.
Yeah, that kind of went and bit her in the ass. Like, let's pick people that have no filter and torture
Wait
them.
till their NDA runs
And
out.
then their NDA will run out. And then they're going to have no filter.
There are so many girls coming out and just talking about the toxic stuff that went on. Like, there are girls that
what's the one girl?
Me.
There's one girl that is really like making a whole thing of it on
Angelia?
TikTok. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Sarah.
No.
Angelia?
She's got short hair now. What is her name? Oh my God.
There's so many girls.
No,
Lisa D'Amato? Lisa D'Amato?
Yes.
She's blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's got a whole TikTok, like people are following her and she's literally reliving what happened on the show with her. And it was extremely toxic.
Really bad. They knew about mental health issues that she had. And they really provoked her and poked and prodded. And it was really, really bad from what I've heard. They know. We went through like 2 days of psychological testing. They know everything about the inner workings of our mind. And then they're like, oh, I know this is going to bother her. Let's do it anyway, and completely screw with her mental health. So they did a lot to a lot of girls, knowing that it would.
But it's sort of wrapped in this, oh, we want to find the next great model.
Yeah.
It's wrapped in this pretty
torturing
bow.
them.
Yeah.
Well, it's even just that episode where I think it's also the second episode where they have y'all come in and draw.
Oh God,
and then talk to yourself about your issues. And then the next day you have to go and pose with bees, which I just can't even imagine how that was like legally possible to put.
One of the girls is allergic to bees.
I know. This girl is saying in her interview, like, I was scared because I'm allergic to bees. And it's like, well, then when you
signed our lives away. So we literally signed our lives away. It was like, if you die on set, you can't sue anyone because you signed this page. So literally they probably had a page in there we didn't read. They're like, pertaining to bees in section A, part 2,
Listen, I'm really happy for Brittany, but just I want to go on the record and say on the Next Page podcast that I thought you were going to win, like unbiasedly, because your photos I just thought far surpassed. And this is no disrespect. Brittany is a beautiful model, but I really felt like your photos were just so electric, and especially that cover girl shoot. I mean that red.
Oh yeah. I
mean, it's stunning. It's really stunning. Thank you. In the camel shoot, like you were lit. I mean, it was life. I mean, it really, so I was really kind of angry.
I was mad. I remember. I was because what year was that? That was
2000. The end of 2010 is when we filmed.
Yeah,
then it aired in 2011.
Yeah, I was in law school. I was in my second year of law school, and this was like my escape. And I was like so excited. I was living in California, and I was like, this is Molly's gonna make it. And like every episode was really totally. And then I was
there. I saw you, Molly. You were in Charleston, and we were at some restaurant, and they were playing it on the screen at the restaurant.
Oh God, Wild Wings?
Yes.
Is that why we went to Wild Wings?
Yes. And everybody was watching it while you were in the restaurant, and people were like, Molly.
What a South Carolina thing. Let's go watch my reality show at Wild Wings. I can't deal. That is the most ridiculous thing. I thought it was so cool. I was like, oh, I'm so famous. Ooh, we're going to Wild Wings.
Let's go celebrate at the Wild Wings.
Listen, don't knock Wild Wings now. I'm all about them. Like,
hey,
10,
I love
10 and 10.
Wings.
10 and 10.
Oh,
get
no.
10 of this flavor, 10 of this flavor.
Me and Ian used to get 50. Me and Ian used to get 50.
As you should have.
I'd eat like 4 and he'd smash the rest. But, oh, man, I love that. Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine the one that
you were there. I blocked it out.
That's so funny because I can't even imagine whichever Wild Wings it was. It can't be in the same place because they've all moved all over the place. But just you know what, Wild Wings, we respect you.
Don't come for my Wild Wings now. We had honey mustard, the barbecue. That's just it's a beat.
Yeah. Well, so do you feel like being on that show as a whole was a hindrance in the modeling world for you, or has it given you somewhat of like a platform, or did you feel it was the launching point?
I'd say half and half on that one. A lot of the models who didn't make it to like the top 4 or 5 didn't make it overseas. They worked a lot more because their faces weren't as known for reality TV. So some people liked me on the show. Some people liked my photos, and I got booked specifically because of that. They knew me from the show. Some people, I think, look at it as kind of a joke reality show. It's not real. They're just dramatic and they're not necessarily good models. So most people don't go to castings and say, I was on Top Model. We just pretend it never happened because no one takes you seriously.
Really?
Unless, some of the, Winnie Harlow, I mean, she's really just the big one that I think about now. She's such a big model now. But I mean, it's kind of almost, you don't even think about Top Model anymore because she's made a new name for herself.
Right.
People just kind of look down on you as if you're not a real model. You're just like dramatic. And
So it was
doing
kind of a
TV.
hindrance then.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of like you
I
have
had
to
a few people
overcome
book
that.
me. And then they chopped my hair off.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And the finale, I only let them cut it because I really thought I might win. I was like, you know what? I'll use that money. I'll buy myself a wig or something. It's fine. Chop it off. I got this.
Real
And they're
weave.
like, just kidding. Go home. You now have a bowl cut that you have to keep for 7 months until the end of airing. So you can do publicity with the same haircut. So people don't know how much time has passed.
Oh,
so I had to keep that haircut for like 8 months, and then no one wanted to book me modeling. I looked ridiculous.
Wow. Did they give you anything as a runner-up?
No.
Well, that's some bullshit.
I made like $1,300 throughout filming per DM money that they gave us like each day for groceries and medicine. Yeah, I left with like $800, baby.
Oh,
wow.
My God.
And then to go out into the world and then have to prove to people that you are at least you got you had a really great portfolio, I feel like, from that, at least.
Oh God, those pictures were gorgeous.
They're so good. I actually watched a reel you made. By the way, I'm obsessed with your reels on Instagram, and I'm just learning about TikTok. It's going to be a process, but you make the funniest reels. One of them was just like every scene or picture taken throughout the cycle, and it's like ultimately you did get a great portfolio, but it just sucks that you have to then defend yourself because you did this thing that you didn't even know was going to be that way.
Yeah.
And they found you.
Right? They were like, come do this. Yes. And I was like, oh, wow. And then it's like, oh no, what have I done? But even looking back on it, I'd probably do it again. I just would do it very differently. But if I did it differently, would I have made it so far on the show? Because maybe if I had more of a filter, they would have been like, let's give her a crappy photo this week, send her home. So it's double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I understand that you went back to school. You went to GSU for bio pre-nursing, where you actually made president or dean's list each semester, which I thought was like, whoa, smarty pants. Do you enjoy school, and do you think you'll eventually go into some type of the medical field?
So I do love school. Ian used to always make fun of me. I loved going to school. I liked reading. I loved going back to school. It made me feel really like accomplished, making such good grades. I was like, wow, look at me. Like I went back and like I'm setting the curve in my classes. Like this is really great. Whether or not I will go into the medical field or anything, that's still to be determined. I have one more year I need to finish, and I'm just not really sure. I've started back playing music again.
Nice.
And I'm thinking that I am at a crossroads in my life. I just moved
playing
home.
Music? What do you play?
Yeah. Oh, the miniature tuba.
I saw a video, one of her reels. It's on there and it's fantastic. I honestly didn't think, like Todd told me that you were a musical person and that you played instruments. And I was like, wait.
Well, I know Molly
as a reel.
We had the same voice. She's a vocalist. So I've always known Molly as a singer, but I didn't know you played the tuba.
Well, and I saw
it. That was actually my main.
I thought it was a joke. Like but it was so good.
I thought it was a joke.
Clearly, no, I thought you took audio from something and then we're like, look at me playing this instrument. I didn't realize.
Oh my God, that makes me happy.
So you're very good.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
Thank you. I quit for 13 years and that was me picking it up after. Yeah, I moved home and I started actually doing some mental health work and some therapy after my first session. I realized I needed to start back music. And so I sent my instrument off after 13 years to be polished and cleaned. And then I auditioned for a band here and now I'm playing every week.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, trying to figure out what makes me happy. I think with the modeling industry, how you have such a short time you can do things. I'm already like geriatric model. So you got to figure out.
Anybody could see this right now.
But don't they have like young, beautiful mom and young, beautiful, like executive and young, beautiful, you know what I mean?
I'd have to be the mom. I'd have to do commercial stuff and be more like mom lifestyle, which I'm not a very smiley, maternal looking
not the
human
person
being.
bringing
So
the turkey to the table.
Here's my baby. Yeah, I know.
That is not how you hold a baby, by the way, Molly, just so you know.
Exactly. See, you don't hold it like this.
Well, so kind of piggybacking off of that, though, you obviously you're in it. We talked about you're a big advocate for mental health. So what do you do to kind of take care of yourself and your own mental health? And do you feel that you've kind of moved through all of the trauma of the show, of the aftermath of the show? Like, where do you kind of see yourself right now?
I think there's definitely still some trauma there. I think I've moved past most of it. I'm sure there's some stuff I don't really realize still affects me. I still sometimes have nightmares that I'll be on the top model runway and like my legs won't work, or like I'll fall over, or just stupid stuff like that, where it's like, really, we're still having these dreams? Okay, something's still there. But as far as mental health work, I've been in therapy since I was like 12. Just depression, anxiety, anger issues and stuff. And I have like treatment resistant depression, some OCD, anxiety issues. And so I actually moved home to do ketamine infusions at the ketamine center here. And
what is that ketamine? Can you explain that for our listeners?
So it's similar to how they use psilocybin, like microdosing of mushrooms for PTSD, depression, all these things. Ketamine is not psilocybin based, but in a different way helps those same issues. I can't explain it as well as some
I know
people
what you're.
could.
So
I go in and I get
microdosing. Yeah.
So the ketamine infusions, I go and it's like an IV. I basically go and kind of trip a little bit in a medical setting. And I don't know, it's just really been helpful. I'm not sure how exactly. Like, I don't really go and work through trauma necessarily while I'm in there, but something about it changes the brain chemistry, something. I've become way more impulsive. I cry a lot less. I am a lot less anxious. I've actually been able to go down on my dosage of anxiety meds by like 80%.
And you said your road rage is pretty much gone.
Yeah, so I actually almost got arrested for road rage one time. My dad had to talk the cops out of it. Literally, they came to my house. So it was an issue, and it's almost non-existent now.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. It just helps like impulsivity, and I did a lot of impulsive things when I was upset that would then just were bad for my life. I'd screw my life up when I was upset and do something crazy. So it really helps with that cycle of just bad behavior and no coping skills. I'm at a place where I can learn more coping skills now.
How did you find out about this treatment?
Lisa D'Amato from Top Model did hers in LA, and I asked her about it, and I was like really scared to try it. I was like, oh no, am I going to trip out and freak out and like something bad will happen? And she was like, I promise you it's not what you think it's going to be. And I went and I tried it, and I haven't looked back. It's been life-changing.
Well, we might need to talk about that personally, you and I, after this, because I suffer with generalized anxiety disorder. And, you can take medication, you can go to therapy, but it still is so intense and strong that like something like that could be like life-changing for obviously you, but possibly me and lots of other people.
Is it immediate? Or is it like, do you have to go and do several treatments before you actually see?
So I had to do a bunch of treatments. So they pack them into you do like 4 or 5 treatments, I think, to figure out what dosage you need to be on. Like, they started a low dose, and then by the end of that treatment, whatever dosage you were on at the end, they start with that and they go up just to figure out where you need to be. And then once you get there on that baseline dose, you will go less and less, and then they give you some medicine to take in between. Like I don't go every day to do an infusion. I go once a month now, but I started out, I did like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the next week I did less and less, and just until it
Wow. That's fascinating.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have another friend who just started them, and she's so happy with it, literally like a week ago. So it's new and awesome.
That's amazing. I do want to shift gears here for a second, Molly. You are very passionate about something called the Trevor Project. And for those listeners who's never heard of it, the Trevor Project is the world's largest suicide prevention and crisis intervention organization for LGBTQ young people. Molly, why is this such a you just did a fundraiser for them, right? Recently?
Yeah, over the pandemic, I was doing some working out in my house a lot, and so I would do little workout fundraisers and live workouts, and I was like, all proceeds go to this, and I did a few different fundraisers that I did for, and I love the Trevor Project. I love what they stand for. I have so many friends in the LGBTQ community, and it's just, I mean, mental health is such a big issue. I have so many issues with it. I can't imagine being, in this group of people that everyone just kind of treats differently. And like, I don't know, I can't imagine if I have all these issues and I'm, white, straight woman, whatever. I can't imagine all of the other people. It's so screwed up. We all deserve a chance at being happy.
Yeah.
And, to love who we love and to be who we are. And it's just disgusting that some people can't.
Right.
I just want to fight for that.
Yeah, it's so helpful to have those lines. I called when I was just to share with you both. When I was a young kid, I called. I don't remember if it was the Trevor Project. It was some crisis hotline for gay kids, because back in the this was in the 90s, and it was just a very it talked me off the ledge several times, because there were multiple times that I wanted to end it all, because you just think especially back in the 90s, you just felt like you were disappointing. My only outlet was Danny on The Real World, like,
wow,
that was it, and so we didn't really have, it wasn't so, we didn't have social media, we didn't have all these outlets, there were children that were literally like, there are children now that are coming out loud and proud on social media at 7, 8, 9 years old and being like, yes, I am myself.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't an option for a gay kid in South Carolina back then, who was heavily involved in the church. That's actually, Molly and I went to the same church. And it's just, the fact that you are still so passionate about this, it does save lives. It does give a kid a perspective to look out, to be able to, if they can't find it in their friends or their family, it's the support. There is someone on the other line that, I had a friend who was actually in the call center for the Trevor Project, and has, time and time again talked kids out of killing themselves, because when have all those hormones running through you when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, and you feel like everything about you is bad, you're a bad person because of who you want to love and what you're
especially
attracted
with the church
to.
Background. I mean,
exactly.
You're getting it from every direction.
Yeah, and so you feel like even if you end it, it'll be better than feeling this pain now, because if you go to hell, that'll just be, you'll be around other gay people.
I mean, well, in a weird way, it's kind of like, well, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because either you kill yourself and then you're going to hell, or you keep it going and you're going to hell because you're gay. So I just can't imagine being in that position. Oh, really?
I've called a crisis hotline once. Yeah. Just a suicide prevention hotline. So yeah, I mean, it's just so important to have, and I have such a big support system. I have my family, I have, my friends. And that doesn't always matter. Sometimes you still need that other person, that voice, that stranger, in a time of need. And it's just, these young people who are, just don't have an outlet, don't have anyone to speak to, and are just full. I mean, the church, God, the church is just so.
Listen, I'm still, I don't know how you are, Molly, but it's still, when I said Molly and I, we were at church all the time. We were, I mean, I always saw you. We were always, there was like youth group and choir and every Sunday, EYC. There was all these, church ski trips. There was just a constant church involvement. And to be honest, my chill crew, core group of friends is from that church. And I don't know if all of them are still as active in that church.
Is this Southern Baptist or what was it?
No, this was actually, we all, so I was raised Southern Baptist and then switched to, because all my friends were at Grace Episcopal downtown.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, my mom and I wanted to try that out. And so we ended up falling in love with that church. But it was a great social.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like of all the religious sects and sects, not, I'm trying to be the religious sects. No, that of all of them, Episcopalians, it's generally more accepting, and you still get that feeling.
Generally,
so
I mean, they're still split 50-50 to this day on the gay marriage issue, on the gay.
My mom left. My mom
I know.
She was
she was a deacon, wasn't she, or something? She was like really high up in the.
She was on the vestry. She did a lot of stuff. She did a lot of stuff at the church for decades, and then she was like, "Y'all are gross. Screw you."
Yeah.
So my mom is. I mean, I've got the two best parents who have always told me like everyone should be allowed to be themselves and love who they love, and screw what this church stuff says. It's like, just live your life and be happy, and if you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for Laura when I say that your parents are like, you hit the jackpot, Molly. I mean, they are like,
yes,
I truly,
well, they're both just such smart and they're just so smart and also very, like accepting. Like I could just tell just meeting them in general, like they were more fascinated in hearing what I wanted to had to say than like trying to pass judgment or be like, what's your, they're just genuine people. So I get what you're kind of
open-minded and
And so with that said, I would never want to go up against Ann or Michael in court.
Oh,
no,
they're terrifying.
No,
My
thank
mom
you.
is a scary, scary woman.
She doesn't lose a case. She doesn't lose. She just doesn't.
Yeah. She just doesn't
lose. Mess around.
Well, we have a palate cleanser, Laura. You want to?
Yeah. So after all of that, very deep stuff, and we really thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with us. It's absolutely been, I don't know, eye-opening. I definitely am going to go check out some ketamine. But, before we say goodbye and give you your afternoon back, we have a tradition on the show to ask a question of the day. And our question of the day today is, in a perfect world, what would be your dream job?
Oh, man. Netflix watcher.
That is a good answer.
Actually, I'm really kind of not joking. Oh, man, if I could get paid to veg out in my bed and do nothing, I fully would.
Molly, those jobs exist.
I know. I'll do it. Do you want to get paid to like 4,000 hours of Netflix? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Netflix watch.
I didn't know this was an option. I would have chosen that too.
Right?
No,
it's a thing.
Answer.
Let me make sure this isn't dying. Keep having to replug this in. So I started out really wanting to work with animals, and then I realized how sad it is when vets have to put animals down. So I nixed that pretty quickly. I think honestly it might be something with music. I just don't know if I could make enough money doing music with, I play the miniature tuba. Everyone's like, what is that? How am I going to make a ton of money doing that? But I would love to just play music, and if I could model part-time until however long, that would be amazing too. I do still love modeling, even though the industry can be pretty toxic. But I think music, I've found it, I forgot how much joy it brought me until I listened to classical music during my first ketamine infusion. And I was like, what have I done? Why did I quit doing this? So I think it's so important to keep doing those things that bring you joy. And even if you haven't in a long time, you can go back to it. I mean, it's 13 years that I quit and I went back to it, and it's been really nice. I think maybe music complete derail from modeling.
No, I mean, that's just wonderful. I was thinking, just if you're, honestly, I do feel like the professional Netflix watcher would be pretty amazing, especially while you're getting a ketamine infusion. But I think it's wonderful that you've kind of like, you've worked on yourself and you've reflected on that. And that because of that, I mean, I don't think any of us can say we're fixed.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's awesome that you've gotten back into it. And I think the miniature tuba sounds awesome because that's like way less heavy than a real tuba. I mean, I don't even know what these people with whole tubas are doing.
That one's right. Really they're insane. The whole tuba?
Molly, can you grab your instrument and just play us a little scale?
Oh my gosh, it's happening.
If my phone, oh my God. If my computer dies,
I am done.
Oh no.
I'm so excited right now. Bad. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Where's my mouthpiece? This is hilarious. It's going to be bad. I haven't warmed up.
I'm very excited.
So you think mini, but it's still huge.
That's still so much more like reasonable to me. Okay.
Oh my.
It's really hard to do while standing.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That is a giant tuba, even though it's miniature.
It is quite large. I know, even it's miniature. I mean, the other ones are literally like a foot tall.
Oh yeah, they wrap like around your body. So like
that's a sousaphone.
Oh, well, there you go. You know more about music than I do.
Something new every day.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing that for us.
I know that.
You're welcome. I couldn't wait.
Just made me so happy.
Yeah, one more. Just one more.
What's always that? So fresh, it's so clean.
It just makes everything better.
I know,
right? Put a little tuba on it.
Throw a little tuba on it.
Well, a little tuba on it.
We can't thank you enough. Everybody listening, go put a little tuba on it.
Yeah, go put some tuba on it. Check out Molly on Instagram, on any
TikTok, Reels, all the things.
Yes, and I can vouch that the reels are worth it. I love the way you pair up everything, the audio to like serious modeling, like videos. It's so good. Todd, you just have to.
I'm going to watch it.
It takes me a long time. I feel old, but I try.
and obviously she on cycle 16 of America's Next Top Model. If you want to go check that out, now you can see it through a different lens.
Yes.
Maybe you would have before.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love you guys.
Delightful.
You too.
Well, have a wonderful afternoon, and we hope to have you back at some point.
Great. Y'all too. Okay. See, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, wow, Todd.
She's so great.
I'm obsessed with her. I mean, I have been before.
She's so unfiltered.
And it's magical
to
hear like somebody speak so candidly. And I think that we could have gone on any number of tangents from all of that. And I think honestly, we had just to kind of get the other stuff, to get to all the other things. Like we kind of move it along on some things that I think we could have talked for hours about.
Oh my God. I mean, her experience in the modeling industry and what that photographer did to her and just the trauma that causes, and that show going through that hamster wheel that they did.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The bubble. She referred to it as they did in the show as the bubble, but I just all I could think was these poor girls are in a freaking hamster wheel going over water. Like there was still a layer of water over the platform. And then and also, we didn't even talk about this. Inside of that, they put flowers in it. So there's flowers going around in the ball with you while you're doing
it. While they're trying to walk on a slippery runway in a bubble.
And Molly, she kept her, she did a good job in that. She definitely did not. I mean, there were some sad, one girl.
But what if a girl breaks her leg or something?
That's what my thoughts were. I was like, liability. But I guess they sign away their lives. They
sign away their lives, yeah.
Which is nuts, which actually I'm not sure you can actually do. But I think that the fear around Tyra and, having this whole big industry, are you going to really take them on?
And listen, that was a decade. I mean, or over a decade ago. It was 12 years ago. So like the climate was very different 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. A lot has changed. There's a lot more outspoken energy. Like we talked on this show about the Me Too movement and the collective trauma that we've all been through with this friggin' pandemic.
Well, I think that she made a good point as well, as kind of like she brought up the Abercrombie and Fitch thing, like where she's like, well, now she was just saying it like, well, now it's more inclusive because of people, but in a way she kind of alluded to it too. Is like, I don't really know if that's just to do it to save face or if it's real, which we've talked about on this podcast like a lot about, does it really matter? Let's just like do it to get it out there. And that's great. I mean, obviously now too, we've got Dove commercials and stuff that have, I'd say more than a very big range of different looks, different styles, sizes, but it still seems from her perspective, getting her perspective, that it really hasn't in like a big way changed at all, or the fact that Tyra, I don't know you, Tyra, and I'm sure you're probably never going to hear this, but I just, take a look in the mirror at yourself to put people through that. These are humans.
In her mind, I'm sure she's thinking, I'm giving these girls a platform. I am giving them some of them the start of their career. They're getting exposure. I can see why, as a businesswoman, she would think she would be helping the modeling girls. But when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, she was the executive producer on that show, and she can say, we're not doing that to these girls. And maybe she did. Maybe along the way, there were some other outlandish things that she was like, that's not happening. We don't know all that stuff.
But as we talked about after we finished recording, we stayed on with Molly for a little bit, and she was talking about that episode I talked about where they pretended to reject a group of those girls, and she was in that group. There was another group of girls that were given envelopes telling them that they had made it. And then they were put in a room and told, just kidding, you didn't make it. The other people were the ones that made it. So that's like double, I feel like quadruple emotional trauma there.
That's so hurtful.
I know. It just seems mean to me.
It's mean-spirited. It's mean-spirited.
It's unnecessary. Like I was like, they could have just told y'all psych or whatever, like, or you didn't make it, and left the other girls out of it.
I'm just making a correlation. The modeling industry is sort of notoriously catty. You got a lot of very intense designers who are very, very unapologetic about their beauty standard and what they require. I've seen along the years, like people that are in that industry talk about models, and it is like they are just, like Molly said, pieces of meat, just like, oh, she's too thin. Oh, she's too this. They know what they want in their mind of what their perfect runway model is going to be.
Which is kind of insane if you think about it. Because like if your purpose is for people to go out and wear what you're designing, then not every person's going to look like that person. I agree with you. It seems insane to me. I do in a weird way. I mean, like a totally very minimal, not even close to what Molly has been through situation, but in a weird way, like trying to find dresses for Dancing with the Stars has been its own interesting journey, because all of the dresses are made for like, I'll find a dress and be like, oh, that's perfect. And it's like, okay, yeah, we have it in sizes 0 and 2. And you have to be a B cup. And it's like, okay, I get it. Lots of dancers are thin.
Right.
But to just rule out like an entire, like 8 different sizes is ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think when the fashion industry catches up with the real humans that they're trying to build clothes for, I think that they will realize that there is and some designers have like branched out into plus size and big and tall and all that stuff, because,
Torrid. I freaking love me some Torrid. I'm just going to tell you girls out there, if you are like a 10, 12, just stop going to the other stores, go to Torrid, because you will not only feel like, I mean, I don't want to support this kind of thinking, but like you will not only feel like the smallest person or the skinniest person ever, but they make clothes that are for people. Like they have body parts. Like that's the thing I think so messed up. It's like people are making clothes for like a human that does not have or does not have a butt. And it's like, that is a part it's anatomy. I'm sorry, guys. If you want that, you put it on men.
Right, exactly. And specifically for Molly, hearing her body image issues. And I mean, I think she's just so stunning. And it's just like, it's so interesting seeing someone with that kind of objective physical beauty and them not feel internally, I am gorgeous. I am worthy of my picture being shot from all these magazines. And it sounds like it's a mind, constantly because, you look at Molly and you're like, wow, because she's just got a great life. But if every time she goes to a casting or to a shoot, she's dealing with these triggers, it's like, at what point is modeling still fun? That's why I was like, I know she's passionate about what she does. She's very passionate about.
And we want everybody to know that she still very much loves modeling.
Yes.
It's just the stuff you have to deal with to do it is what's messed up. And it's changeable.
Right.
That's what's like, I think, so frustrating.
And as her confidence grows, I think that's why she's saying she's starting to be her own advocate in the room and say, don't talk to me like that, or don't grab my breast.
Don't grab my boob.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's what she's been through is it's remarkable. And, I think she's got still many, many years of modeling ahead of her. And
I think she has so much of a, I mean, we heard her miniature tuba. I mean, come on.
The miniature tuba gave me life.
I mean, I don't know if any guest, I love all of our guests, and I know I will love all our guests in the future, but that is a moment that will be a top moment of my life, because I did not expect her. She didn't even have it like right next to her. It's not like we didn't prep this. We didn't ask.
I mean, you see this 5'11" gorgeous model and you're like, you have a tuba. You're blowing. You're blowing into a miniature tuba. What is happening?
What is happening? It's very hard to process. And
it's good playing. So you're like, what?
A lot of things. I actually did. I took some screenshots, so I'll be posting those to our social so y'all can see it and see how gorgeous she is, and in whatever form. I mean, she's nothing close to being too large in any shape or fashion. No. So that in itself pissed me off. But she's also just like a great human, a great human being, and so funny. And I think we really saw like more of her serious kind of side today.
Well, she's grown up a lot since that show.
I'm telling you, if you go look at her reels, she is the funniest person in the world. She is just witty and dry, but in a great way. So it's like, we got deep today, and I'm so grateful for that. But she is very
real.
She's a real person. Yeah. Like a very, like we said that one day, or before we even started this, we were debating what our kind of tagline or whatever would be. And our first instinct was real shit with real people. And I'm very sorry to your mother for all the cursing that I've done in this episode. Please tell Duchess I'm sorry. But Duchess, please still love me. But she's a real person. And we talked about a lot of real stuff. And I'm very grateful for that.
And, I guess she probably helped, some young girls that are, if they listen to this, moms, if you're out here listening to this, your daughter wants to go into modeling, play them this episode, because she said what's really going on in the industry, and they need to be prepared going out there. That you don't want them going out blindly. They need to know how to stand up for themselves and handle themselves in a professional situation like that. But anyway, we are really, really grateful to Molly O'Connell. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yes. Love you so much, Molly. Thank you. And I guess it's now our turn to ask question of the day. So I will ask you first, Todd. In a perfect world, what would be your dream job?
I have two.
Okay.
So of course I do. We talked about this before. We both kind of have our dream jobs. We kind of do what we want to do in this life because we have only one life. And I love being an actor and a performer and a producer, but I would love to be like an agent or a manager. I think I would really fight for my clients. I think I would get them in the rooms that they need to be in. And I think I would make giant careers happen, because there's so many people that are my friends that I know kill it. So it's just like, I would want to get behind them and push them into the limelight. That would really be something that would fulfill me. And then I guess the second one would be, I would really want to be kind of, doing this podcast is sort of awaken. I would love to be a counselor or a therapist. Something about listening to everyone's trauma over this podcast that's speaking to me. And it's like, you just want to help people because, I know how much therapy has helped me. And all my friends seem to think I am a good listener. And I try to get them to realize what they want to do. And I think that's what therapists really do. And, my brother is a wonderful life coach, and I've learned a lot from him as well. But so those would be
those are very good answers. And they are kind of, I feel like, interrelated in that you want to help people get to their potential, like their highest potential, but in
their highest self.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, maybe you should just go be a life coach, because then you could do both. You kind of be a therapist and an agent.
Once I got my life together, we can talk about me being a life coach. But those who don't do teach.
Yes. Well, that's what I mean. You don't need to get your life together. Exactly. You can just teach people how. Personally, for me, and like you said, I will preface this with, I have a lot of stuff going on for me I adore and that I would never take back. And
you're super passionate about it.
I'm obsessed with all of it. Even it's kind of almost like Molly reminded me of, like, she loves modeling. She just hates the environment. I feel that way sometimes about hospitality. I love making people happy. Like, I love to provide a party, a good time, an escape. And I love production, and I love doing this podcast, and I love all of that. But I'd say in a perfect world, like, since I mean, probably from my first memories of what I wanted to be was always, and it sounds so cheesy, but an astronaut. Like, I straight up wanted to be an astronaut. And
you wanted to work for NASA.
I wanted to go to space, Todd.
Oh my God.
I wanted to go to space because I still do. To anybody that's listening who wants to take me to space, I'm going right now. I don't think you need a passport. I would go in a heartbeat. I know there are people out there that are freaked out about space, but I'm
terrified.
I love flying. I've just a couple hours shy of my pilot's license. So, like, I would love to be an astronaut, but I think that my mental, capabilities weren't up to par. But I love just the fact that you then get to help other people by discovering things while you're up there and cures for stuff. And I don't know. I just think it's cool.
Well, and I'm going to ask you as we end this podcast, but I want to ask you, do you believe in aliens?
Yes, I definitely believe in it. I don't see how there couldn't be. It's too big, vast of a universe. And I don't know if you think about time, we could go into this forever, Todd. Like, well,
but let me go. You said yes, so we're on the same page.
Yeah, so let's go get some ketamine drips and talk about
aliens.
Talk about aliens. It'll be the best day ever.
Well, I will be in Charleston soon, watching you do Dancing with the Stars. So maybe we can go get a ketamine.
Oh my God, please, let's do that. Do not take that back from me. We're doing it.
That sounds good.
The day after. Awesome.
I'm down. All right. Thanks, Molly, for being on the program. We really, really, really enjoyed you.
Thank you so much. All right. I'll see you later, Todd.
Bye-bye.
Bye.